Well, that video blew up for no reason. Posted that video on Friday and then left for a weekend trip, and when I got back, the video had like 800 views. And I gained 50 subscribers, which was crazy. So I really gotta start this video off by saying thank you to everyone who subscribed and left nice comments in the video. It genuinely made my day, and it got me really motivated to keep working on these videos and the project itself. And with that out of the way, let's move on to the actual project itself, the second video in the Devlog series. The first thing I did this week was to fix a couple of bugs. The player sprite no longer rolls around when moving to the left or to the right. I also managed to fix the issue with the moving platform, so now it works as intended. The moving platform is also made into a prefab, so I can just duplicate it for other areas in the game as well. The next thing I wanted to work on was to improve the player movement. The first thing I added was coyote time to the player. This makes it so that the player can actually jump a few frames after walking off a cliff or an edge. I also added jump buffering. This allows the player to buffer a jump input to the game, which makes the game feel more precise. I also made it so that the player can jump higher if he holds down the jump button longer. The next thing I worked on was to fix the issue where the player would clip into the ground. After messing around with the settings in the project, I managed to get this weird error, which I found very funny. I thought for a moment that I had broken the project, but luckily it was a really quick fix. And after I managed to make the stage not go completely crazy, the player can no longer clip inside the ground, at least it seems so for now. The next thing I worked on was trying to make it so that the player's sprite will flip whenever it goes to the left and to the right. My first script made it so that the sprite just sporadically swapped between left and right really quickly. I managed to get the tweaking to stop, and now the other problem was that I had a moonwalking character. Luckily, this was easily fixed by just swapping 2 lines of code in the script. So now our character will always look to the direction he's moving in. Next up, I wanted to work on creating a sprite sheet and an original character for our game. Because the end goal of this project is to release it on Steam, and to release something commercially, I can't use other people's asset packs. Do you guys remember when I said this in the last video? I don't have any artistic skills, at least not that I know of yet. Spoiler alert, but I clearly do not have any artistic skills. So I tried to make some sprite sheets and character sheets in a sprite. However, it didn't really go as well as I hoped it would. I created my own tile map, which actually didn't turn out too bad, I'd say, but the character sheet is just straight up garbage. I mean, just look at this monstrosity of an animation. It's literally the most ugly thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it isn't even like imposter syndrome talking or anything, it's just straight up bad. I decided to work on Unity again because then at least I can see some progress. I'll just revisit this later on at some point. I will at some point revisit a sprite and try to make another character. Since this is my first game, I don't want any assets or anything like that. I want everything in this game to be made by myself, regardless of how bad it really is. I think this is the best approach because that's like the only way to keep improving and getting better at stuff. So back in Unity, I imported my sprite sheet that I made, and then I just started on making a simple layout for the map. I might change the map layout eventually, but for now it will do. I also haven't really decided on what kind of game I want to make yet. I'm kind of torn between 2 ideas, but I'm not sure yet, so I'm kind of just having it in the back of my mind for now to think about. But with my current tile set, I should be able to make a simple level. I'm also probably going to try to make other tile sets so I can have different areas in the game and different kind of atmospheres for my levels. I also made the tiles in the background look like a chessboard, but I'm not sure if it looks good or not, but I'll keep it for now. I also need to add a few more sprites so I can fix the surrounding areas, like the walls and the floor. I just wanted to match with everything else, you know. I personally don't think it looks too bad, but please let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. The next thing I wanted to work on was more interactable stuff in the game. Since this is only going to be a smaller type of game, I just think it's better to make a lot of prefabs that the player can interact with, and then you can like copy and paste them all across the world. So I decided to make a button that has an activated state, which I can use on different kinds of objects and obstacles in the game. So whenever I create an object, for example this door, I can add the button game object to the script, and then I can fetch out the active states of that button. Then I can add the button to any interactable obstacle or thing in my scene. This way I can save a lot of time by not having to redo code every time I have to interact with the object. I did, however, run into a few problems with the door. It had some weird behavior that I really didn't know why would happen, but like they would teleport back to spawn. After messing around with it more, I managed to get it to slowly go towards the spawn instead of just instantly warping there, but it was obviously still wrong. And while fixing a door isn't like the most complex issue in the world, it still feels really good like when you actually figure out the solution to the problems you have. After I got the doors to behave as they should, then I adjusted the C position of the door parts to make sure that they're behind the background of the level. Fixing that door was the last thing I did this week for the project. Again, thank you everyone who left nice comments and supported the last video. Feedback is much appreciated, both for like the video editing and also the project itself. If you don't mind, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will try to upload a new devlog every Friday going forward. However, I can't promise that the next video will have that much content simply because of
Elden Ring DLC.